Hello, everyone. Welcome to KCA Production, where we bring you amazing stories, entertainment, gists, beautiful documentaries, and information and visuals that will brighten your day. It doesn't matter what you're going through or what you've gone through. KCA Production is here to ensure that you get out of that mood and you become excited and elated with our content. I want to ask you that you please subscribe to our channel so that you can be um, kept abreast of every important information and videos that we share here. The promise, or it's always promising to be exciting, to be interesting. We bring you movies that are filled with suspense, drama, fiction, fun, entertainment, drama, love, laughter, thrills, and all of that. So please subscribe to KCA Production. Um, Drop your comments in the comment section, like this video, turn on post notifications, and share this video, please. So today at KCA Production, we will be presenting a thrilling movie to you. It's drama that is filled with betrayal, ambition, family secrets, revenge, suspense, and survival. Again, before we begin, I want to ask you to please subscribe to KC Production for more powerful and inspiring movies. So I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of this movie. In an ancient town of Ayetoro, two brothers became enemies after the mysterious death of their father, a respected community chief, as greed, jealousy, and power tear the family apart. Hidden truths begin to surface. A young man who was once mocked and rejected suddenly rises to become the key to a dangerous secret tied to the town's wealth and leadership. Friends become enemies, lovers become traitors, nobody can be trusted, but in a battle where everyone is fighting to survive, who will truly fight to finish? So we're gonna have Chief Additional, Bolaon Sheyi, Iyatade, Morenike, Tade Dara, Jamiu, Mama Sheyi, and Bale Agbede. Okay, let's get right straight into it. In every family, there is a hidden wound. Some wounds heal with time, others wait patiently for revenge. In the town of Ayetoro, one death would awaken secrets buried for over 20 years. And before the end, blood would fight blood. A man who leaves home because of pain may someday return because of destiny. But sometimes, destiny comes wearing trouble. The loud sound of drums echoed across Ayetoro Market as traders shouted over one another. Fresh pepper, buy your pepper. Eja tutu, fresh fish. Under a tree beside the market, old men played ayu while discussing village politics. Suddenly, a dusty bus stopped at the junction. A tall man stepped down slowly with a small black bag. His face looked hardened by life. It was Tade. Women whispered immediately. Shay, that is not Shay's younger brother. I thought he left this town years ago. He came back after Chief Adeshino died. Tade ignored the stairs and walked through the market. Inside a beer parlor nearby, Bolaon sat with some thugs drinking palm wine. One of the boys rushed in. Boss, Tade is back. Bolaon froze. The cup in his hand stopped halfway to his mouth. What did you say? He just entered town now. Bolaon's face darkened. After years, the prodigal son had returned. At the additional family house, mourning clothes still hung around the compound. Women sat outside, crying softly. Mama Sheyi looked tired and broken. Tade entered quietly. Immediately, silence fell. Mama Sheyi stood up angrily. So you finally remembered this house? Tade lowered his head. I came as soon as I heard Baba died. You should have come earlier. Your father died calling your name. The statement hit him hard. Tade swallowed painfully. Before he could speak, Sheyi entered the compound. The atmosphere changed immediately. Sheyi stared at Tade with cold eyes. You have the guts to return here. Tade looked confused. I came to bury Baba. Sheyi laughed bitterly. You abandoned him for 7 years. I did not abandon anybody. Then why did you disappear after stealing money from the family business? Tade's eyes widened. What? Murmurs spread across the compound. Tade stepped forward angrily. I never stole anything. Sheyi moved closer. Liar! Suddenly, Mama Sheyi collapsed between them, crying. Enough! Your father is dead. Night fell over the town. Rain clouds gathered heavily. Tade sat alone outside the house, staring into darkness. Then Morenike approached slowly with a lantern. You should not have returned, she whispered. Tade looked shocked. Morenike. She sat beside him. They ate you here. I didn't do what they accused me of. I know. Tade looked at her immediately. You know? Before she could answer, thunder struck loudly. Morenike looked around nervously. There are things you don't know about your father's death. Tade's heartbeat increased. What are you talking about? She leaned closer. The night your father died, somebody was inside the room. Tade stood up instantly. Who? Before Morenike could answer, a masked figure suddenly appeared behind the fence, holding a cutlass, watching them, unknown to them. Elsewhere in town, Bolaon entered a dark shrine. Red candles burned around the room, and Hodabali sat on the floor chanting. Bolaon dropped a bag of money. I want the throne of this town. The herbalist smiled slowly. The throne demands blood. Bolaon's face became serious. Whose blood? The herbalist looked directly at him. Tade's. Thunder roared again. Back at the house, Tade heard movement behind him. He turned sharply, but nobody was there. Only darkness. Then suddenly, a knife landed violently beside him. Third. Attached to it was a note. Tade picked it up carefully. The message read, Leave Aetoro now, or you will die like your father. Tade's breathing became heavy. Morenike trembled beside him. Far in the shadows, the masked figure smiled. When a town hides secrets, the truth becomes dangerous. Tade had only just returned, but already death was waiting at his door. Fear spreads faster than fire in a town built on lies. And sometimes, the people smiling beside you are the same people digging your grave. The rain poured heavily across Aetoro. Wind slammed against the zinc roofs while dogs barked restlessly in the distance. Inside his late father's room, Tade sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the threatening notes. The lantern beside him flickered. His mind refused to rest. Who wanted him dead? And what exactly happened to Chief Adishino? A soft knock suddenly came from the window. Tap, tap. Tade stood immediately. Who is there? Open quietly, a familiar voice whispered. It was Dara. Tade carefully opened the window. Dara climbed inside, soaked from the rain. You should not be here, Tade said. Dara looked frightened. I overheard something tonight. Tade's face tightened. What? Before she could answer, footsteps echoed outside the corridor. Both of them froze. Someone stopped right outside the door. Silence. Then the footsteps continued. Dara released the breath she was holding. I heard Sheyi arguing with Bolaon this evening. Tade frowned. About what? They mentioned your father's land documents. Tade stood up immediately. What documents? Dara lowered her voice. They said, if you discover the truth, everything will be ruined. Thunder crashed loudly. Tade's heartbeat increased. Dara, what truth? But suddenly, the lantern went off. Darkness swallowed the room instantly. Dara screamed softly. Then a strange voice spoke from the darkness. You should have stayed away, Tade. Tade quickly grabbed a wooden stool. Who is there? A shadow moved fast near the curtain. Tade charged forward violently. Crash! The window shattered. By the time he reached outside, nobody was there, only rain and muddy footprints leading toward the backyard. Meanwhile, at the village square, Sheyi met secretly with Gbolahan under a shelter. Sheyi looked nervous. This is getting out of hand. Gbolahan drank from a bottle calmly. You are afraid. I'm not afraid. Then control your brother. Sheyi looked around carefully. He keeps asking questions. Gbolahan smiled coldly. Then give him answers before he finds the real ones. Sheyi became angry. You promised nobody would know, and nobody will know if you stop panicking. Suddenly, lightning flashed. For a brief second, Sheyi noticed blood stains on Gbolahan's sleeve. His eyes widened. What happened to your hand? Gbolahan quickly covered it. Nothing, but Sheyi's fear deepened. Back at the compound, Mama Sheyi sat awake, praying silently. The old woman's hand trembled around her prayer beads. Suddenly, she heard movement outside her window. She looked up slowly. A figure, dressed in black, stood motionless outside. Her breathing stopped. The figure pointed slowly toward Chief Adesina's locked room, then disappeared into darkness. Mama Sheyi stood immediately. Jesu! She hurried toward the room, and she pushed the door open. A terrible smell filled the air. The room was freezing cold. Then she noticed something strange. The large frame picture of Chief Adesina had fallen to the ground. The glass was broken. Behind the frame, a hidden compartment was open. Empty. Mama Sheyi gasped loudly. No, no. Someone had taken whatever was hidden there. At the same moment, Tade returned from outside completely drenched. Mama, what happened? She turned toward him fearfully. They have taken it. Taken what? Before she could answer, the entire house suddenly went dark. Every lamp, every candle, everything. Then a deep voice echoed from outside the compound. Tade, the next cock crow will be your last. Women inside the compound screamed immediately. Tade grabbed a cutlass from the wall. Anger burned in his eyes. This was no longer about returning home. This had become war. The dead were no longer silent. Hidden secrets had begun to rise, and in Ayetoro, every answer came with danger. A man can run away from his hometown, but he can never truly escape the shadows tied to his name. In Ayetoro, fear had begun to grow like wildfire. The streets that once welcomed laughter were now filled with suspicion. Every whisper carried danger, every greeting sounded like a warning. Tade had returned hoping to bury his father peacefully, but instead, he stepped into a battlefield nobody prepared him for. The people around him wore familiar faces, yet their hearts carried hidden motives. The deeper he searched for truth, the closer death moved toward him. But the most dangerous thing about secrets is this: once they begin to come out, they destroy everyone standing near them. The first cock crow echoed across the town. Tade had not slept. He sat outside with a cutlass beside him while rainwater dripped slowly from the roof. Inside the compound, everyone remained awake in fear. Mama Sheyi muttered prayers continuously. Suddenly, footsteps approached the gate. Tade stood immediately. Who is there? A weak voice answered. It is me, Jamiu. Tade opened the gate carefully. Jamiu entered looking terrified and sweaty. His clothes were stained with mud. What happened to you? Tade asked. Jamiu looked around nervously before speaking. They are planning to kill you. Mama Sheyi gasped loudly. Tade frowned. Who? Jamiu swallowed hard. I overheard Gbolahan speaking with some men near the shrine. What did they say? They said before the burial ceremony, your body must disappear. Silence fell heavily. Mama Sheyi sat down in shock. But Tade's eyes burned with anger. I am tired of hiding. Jamiu grabbed his arm quickly. You don't understand. These people are dangerous. Before Tade could reply, a loud scream came from outside. Everybody rushed towards the road. Villagers gathered around a body lying in the mud. It was one of Gbolahan's boys, dead. His throat had been brutally cut. Women screamed in fear, men stepped back immediately. Then Bale Agbede arrived with palace guards. Who found him? The Bale asked. Nobody answered. But suddenly, one of the guards noticed something near the corpse. Small red cloth. The same cloth tied around Tade's traveling bag. Murmur spread instantly. Bale looked toward Tade slowly. Tade, explain this. Tade's eyes widened. I know nothing about that. But the villagers had already begun whispering. Murderer! He came back with trouble. Tade killed him. Sheyi stepped forward dramatically. I warned everybody. Tade turned angrily. You know I didn't do this. But Sheyi looked away coldly. Later that afternoon, Dara secretly met Tade behind an abandoned cocoa warehouse. You are being framed, she whispered. I already know that. No, you don't understand. She looked around carefully before speaking again. The night your father died, I saw somebody leaving his room. Tade moved closer immediately. Who? Dara hesitated. Then slowly, Sheyi. Tade froze completely. What? He was carrying a small wooden box. Tade's breathing became heavy. My brother would never. He also had blood on his clothes. The world around Tade suddenly felt silent. Everything stopped. Would Sheyi truly be involved in their father's death? Before Dara could continue, a stone suddenly crashed beside them. Both turned immediately. 3 masked men emerged from the bushes, holding weapons. Run! Tade shouted. The men charged toward them instantly. Tade grabbed a stick from the ground and attacked one violently. Crack! Another man swung a machete toward Dara. She screamed. Tade pushed her away just in time. The blade caught his shoulder deeply. Blood spilled immediately. Pain shot through his body. But before the attackers could strike again, a gunshot suddenly echoed through the air. Bang! Everybody froze. The marksmen ran immediately into the forest. Tade turned slowly. Standing nearby with a smoking gun was Sheyi. Sometimes, the person who saves your life is the same person hiding the knife behind your back. In Ayetoro, trust had become more dangerous than hatred itself. Tade's enemies were no longer hiding in darkness alone. They were now standing openly beside him, pretending to protect him while secretly preparing his downfall. The murder in the village had changed everything. Fear had entered every household, and suspicion had poisoned every relationship. But one question remained unanswered. Was Sheyi truly trying to protect his brother, or was he protecting a terrible secret that could destroy them all? The truth does not stay buried forever. One day, he breaks free, and when he does, families shatter. The gun still smoked in Sheyi's hand. Tade held his bleeding shoulder while Dara trembled beside him. Sheyi walked closer slowly. You both should leave this place. Tade stared at him suspiciously. Why did you save me? Sheyi looked away. Because despite everything, you are still my brother. Before Tade could respond, villagers approaching from afar forced them to separate quickly. That night, Tade secretly entered his late father's room again. His shoulder was bandaged, but pain still burned through him. Using a lantern, he set every corner carefully. Then he noticed scratches on the floor beneath the bed. He pushed the bed aside slowly. A hidden wooden compartment appeared. Tade's heartbeat increased. Inside was a small rusty key and a folded paper. He opened it immediately. The paper read, If anything happens to me, the truth is inside the old cocoa warehouse. Tade froze. The same warehouse where he and Dara were attacked. Suddenly, the door creaked behind him. Tade turned sharply with the lantern. It was Mama Sheyi. Tears filled her eyes. There is something I should have told you long ago. Tade stood silently. Mama Sheyi's voice trembled. Your father was not your biological father. The lantern nearly slipped from Tade's hand. What? Your real father died many years ago. Tade stepped backward in disbelief. No, that is impossible. Shivadeshino adopted you secretly after your mother died during childbirth. Tade's entire world collapsed instantly. So everybody knew. No. Did Sheyi know? Mama Sheyi lowered her head slowly. Yes. Pain flashed across Tade's face. Everything suddenly made sense. The hatred, the rejection, the accusations. Before he could speak again, loud shouting erupted outside the compound. Fire! Fire! Everybody rushed outside immediately. Flames were rising from the old cocoa warehouse. Thaddeus' eyes widened in horror. The warehouse! He ran toward the fire desperately. Villagers struggled with buckets of water, but the flames spread violently. Inside the burning building, Thaddeus noticed something. A small wooden box, half covered beneath fallen wood. Without thinking, he rushed into the fire. Thaddeus, Dara screamed. Smoke filled the air heavily. Burning wood crashed around him. Thaddeus grabbed the box quickly and escaped just before the roof collapsed. The villagers gasped loudly, but as Thaddeus opened the box, his face suddenly changed. Inside were photographs, old photographs. One showed Chief Additional standing beside Bolao, another showed a younger Bale Agbede, and the last picture contained a young woman holding baby Thaddeus. Written behind it were the words, "The rightful heir." Some secrets destroy reputations, others destroy bloodlines, and for the first time, Thaddeus realized his return to Ayetoro was never ordinary. It was connected to something bigger, something powerful enough to kill for. When power is involved, loyalty becomes expensive, and in the middle of fear, betrayal is always close. Midnight covered Ayetoro in silence. Inside his room, Thaddeus stared repeatedly at the photograph labeled "The Rightful Heir." His mind raced endlessly. He heard soft footsteps approaching, then Dara entered quietly. "You should not stay alone tonight," she whispered. Thaddeus showed her the photograph. "Do you know anything about this?" Dara's eyes widened immediately. "My mother once mentioned a child connected to the throne." "What throne?" Before she could answer, somebody knocked loudly at the door. Bang, bang. "Thaddeus, open now." Jamiu shouted fearfully. Thaddeus opened the door quickly. Jamiu rushed inside, sweating heavily. "They are coming for you." "Who?" "Bolao and his men." Almost immediately, shouting erupted outside the compound. Torches filled the darkness. Villagers screamed and scattered. Bolao stood outside with armed men. "Bring Thaddeus out," he roared. Mama Sheyi cried loudly. "What do you people want?" Bolao pointed angrily. "He murdered my boy." Thaddeus stepped outside slowly, despite Dara's warnings. "You know I did not kill him." Bolao smiled coldly. "Then prove it." Suddenly, palace guards arrived with Bale Agbede. The Bale raised the staff. "Enough!" Silence fell instantly. Bale looked directly at Thaddeus. "You will appear before the palace tomorrow morning." Bolao protested immediately. "He should be arrested now." But Bale ignored him. As everybody dispersed slowly, Sheyi appeared from the shadows. He grabbed Thaddeus privately. "You need to leave this town tonight." Thaddeus frowned. "Why?" Sheyi looked terrified for the first time. "Because Bolao is not the real enemy." Before Thaddeus could ask another question, a knife suddenly pierced through Sheyi's stomach. Everybody screamed. Sheyi collapsed instantly. Standing behind him was Jamil. Blood dripped from the knife in his trembling hand. Thaddeus stared in shock. "Jamil!" Jamil's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, they forced me." Then gunshots echoed nearby. Bang, bang. Chaos exploded immediately. Villagers began running in every direction, and in the confusion, Jamil disappeared into the darkness. Thaddeus knelt beside Sheyi desperately. Blood covered in his hands. Sheyi struggled to speak. "Thaddeus, don't talk." But Sheyi grabbed his shirt weakly. "The throne belongs to you." Then his hand dropped. Motionless, Dara screamed in horror. And somewhere in the darkness, Bolao smiled. The closer a man gets to the truth, the more dangerous his existence becomes. In Ayetoro, blood had already been spilled, but the dead were not finished speaking. Rain fell lightly as mourners gathered around Sheyi's body. Women cried bitterly. Mama Sheyi could barely stand. Tade remained silent behind the corpse, guilt and anger battling inside him. He remembered Sheyi's final words: "The throne belongs to you." What throne? And why would someone kill to protect it? Later that evening, Bale Agbede summoned Tade secretly to the palace. The old palace looked unusually quiet. Guards stood at every corner. Inside the throne room, only Bale Agbede waited. His expression looked heavy. "Tade," he said slowly, "there are truths this town buried many years ago." Tade stepped forward. "I deserve to hear them." Bale nodded. "Your real father was the former king of Ayetoro." Tade froze. "What?" "Before he was crowned, he was betrayed by powerful men hungry for control." Bale lowered his head shamefully. Bolaon's father was among them. Tade's heartbeat increased. "They killed my father." Bale looked away. "Yes." The room suddenly felt cold. "And Chief Adeshino? He protected you secretly after your mother died." Tade clenched his fist tightly. "So my entire life was a lie." Bale sighed deeply. "It was the only way to keep you alive." Suddenly, the palace doors burst open. A palace guard rushed inside breathlessly. "Bale, Bolaon's men are attacking the village square." Outside, chaos had already erupted. Houses burned, villagers ran everywhere screaming, armed thugs destroyed shops violently. At the center stood Bolaon holding a gun. "Ayetoro belongs to me," he shouted. Tade arrived immediately with palace guards. Their eyes met instantly. Bolaon laughed. "So the hidden priest finally knows who he is. You killed my father." Bolaon smiled proudly. "And I will kill you too." Gunshots suddenly exploded. Bang, bang. Villagers scattered in terror. Tade attacked one of the thugs while guards fought others. The square became a battlefield. In the confusion, Dara got trapped inside a burning shop. "Tade!" she screamed. Without hesitation, Tade ran into the fire. Smoke surrounded him completely. Wood crashed around the room. He finally found Dara unconscious near a falling table. Tade carried her out just before the building collapsed. The villagers cheered loudly, but Bolaon escaped again. That night, while treating Dara's injuries, Mama Sheyi entered quietly. Her eyes looked troubled. "There is one more secret," she whispered. Tade looked exhausted. "What now?" Mama Sheyi trembled. "Jamiu is alive because I hid him." Tade stood immediately. "What?" "He wants to confess everything." Before Tade could respond, a loud explosion shook the compound. Boom! Everybody screamed. The front gates burst open violently, and standing in the smoke was Bolaon, holding Jamiu at gunpoint. The battle for Ayetoro had become more than revenge. It was now a fight for truth, power, and survival. And before dawn arrived, somebody else would die. After Bolaon stormed the compound, holding Jamiu hostage, tension filled the air. Mama Sheyi begged for mercy while Tade demanded Jamiu's release. Unable to carry the guilt any longer, Jamiu confessed publicly that Bolaon murdered Chief Adeshino by poisoning him during a meeting. He also revealed that Sheyi later discovered the truth and wanted to expose Bolaon, which led to Sheyi's death. To everyone's shock, Bolaon proudly admitted everything. He declared that he eliminated anyone standing between him and the throne of Ayetoro. Before palace guards could arrest him, he seized Dara and held her at gunpoint, forcing everyone to follow him to the old forest shrine. Inside the shrine, surrounded by burning candles and ancient symbols, Bolaon prepared for a final confrontation. Jamiu arrived secretly with a gun, hoping to stop him, but chaos erupted after gunshots were fired. Dara escaped while Tade fought Bolaon violently. As the shrine caught fire, Bolaon attempted to kill Tade with a cutlass, but Bale Agbede shot him before he could strike. Bolaon fell into the flames and died, ending the terror over Ayetoro. 3 weeks later, peace returned gradually to the town. During a grand gathering at the palace, Bale Agbede officially announced Tade as the rightful heir to the throne. Instead of ruling with pride, Tade promised to lead with justice and humility. Jamiu, who survived the shooting, returned to confess fully and seek forgiveness. Though the villagers demanded punishment, Tade forgave him, believing everyone deserved a second chance. As the story closed, Tade reflected that life's greatest battle is not for power or revenge, but for truth and righteousness. Ayetoro finally found peace after a long and painful fight to finish. Hmm. In life, many people fight for power, others fight for revenge, but the strongest people fight for truth, even when it costs them everything. And in the end, the only fight truly worth finishing is a fight for what is right. This is Fight to Finish, brought to you by KCA Production. I hope you enjoyed the movie and you learnt a few lessons. Please do not forget to subscribe to KCA Production. We bring you powerful and inspiring stories and amazing, beautiful movies. Thank you. Drop a comment in the comment section, like this video, share, turn on post notifications. Alright, bye.